Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another replay commentary by the semi-original guy, aka Mr. Cannon, for Advanced Wars by Web. And I have an interesting one here for you, because have you ever wondered what it would be like to play as Eagle on Shadows Chase You Endlessly? Well, you're about to find out exactly what happens when you play as Eagle. So, let's go ahead and get into it here with the player profiles. Alright, Mr. Ken and myself sitting at 1025.63 with 211 wins, 179 losses, and 11 draws. Currently ranked 245 in the league. Maximum rating ever achieved was 1077.4. My opponent is OG It's Nugs with 36 wins, 31 losses, and 0 draws, ranked 870.45 in the league. His maximum rating achieved was 1003.25, so pretty respectable. You know, he broke the coveted 1000 rating, so fantastic job. Alrighty, so once again, we are playing on Shadows Chase You Endlessly. And in fact, they definitely do. Except in the dark. You can't see them. So, don't have to worry about them then. Alright, so let's go over the COs here. Mr. OG It's Nux has chosen to play as Von Bolt. Now, we have covered Von Bolt before in a previous game. Once again, he has 110% attack and defense for all of his units across the board. So very powerful. Ex Machina does area effect damage missile, 3 HP of damage to anything it hits, and stuns those units for that turn and your opponent's next turn. So, wonderful power. I myself have chosen to play as Eagle. Now, I believe Eagle is actually in a tier below Von Bolt for this one, because I think this was a T1 match, right? And I think Eagle is T2, I believe. But I felt like he was a very strong pick for this map, right? So, Eagle, 15% attack for all of his air units and plus 10% defense. Fuel gets negated by 2 every single turn, and his naval units lose 30% firepower, which you know is not necessarily too great, but don't really want to be using naval units as Eagle anyways. And then on this map, there's not really any particular naval combat that really happens because the waterways are pretty up north and down south, right? So naval would only really be able to cover these 2 islands here. So the interesting thing about this map is it is actually just 2 bases. So it's not really going to be too many things that you can do with that, but there is lots of properties, and the funds do get pretty high in this match. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the match. Okay, so this is a bit of a long one here, so we're just going to skip ahead a little bit. So mostly infantry, 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 moving in. So this is a tactic that you see a lot on this match. The black boats that start on the ports, they usually move in to block off infantry from getting to this island. Unfortunately, you can see that one of the infantry did get past my black boat. Sneaky little guy there. Yep, and he did block off this infantry, but this infantry got in, right? So I could move in for the airport first, but I decided to just say, you know, whatever. Capture my back properties first. And we're going to move ahead a little bit, mostly just more infantry builds. So I decided to go double artillery, because my ultimate goal here is just to stall out the match as long as I can until I get lightning strike. So down here, he has built a battlecopter out of this airport, and he's moved it up here. So I built an anti-air in response to that. Aside from that, just kind of refortifying the front up here, capping a couple properties. I did move my black boat back to sit on this port again, Now, I did that mostly just so he can't cap the port very easily, you know, deny him a couple funds here and there. So, you know, I thought it was a good idea. And I did notice that I could take this engagement on this infantry here. So I went ahead and did that. So, skipped all the way to about day 10 so far, right? So, first couple days, you know, nothing really happens. That's very significant. Now, the interesting thing here is the battlecopter that he built moved down here. So he's guarding these two properties from me capping them. I did move my anti-air unit down here to guard his airport here. And I did build a second one so that I can send this down so that I have some coverage while capping those properties. Yeah, so that's what happened in the first 10 days. You know, nothing really too significant. Keeping my units out of range of this rocket. This rocket up here is not really doing much so far, but it's not really in position yet, right? So, he's gone down to cap these properties. He moved this guy onto the city I wanted to capture. So yeah, that cap isn't really gonna happen this time. And I moved my units back, right? Because now this rocket was in a pretty good place to do some damage, and you know, I didn't want to really deal with that, right? So, next thing that happens on OG next turn is he moves his battlecopter down away from the city to prevent it from being killed by this anti-air unit. He also moves his tank into position to attack this anti-air unit. So, you know, pretty good there. I begin capping some properties here. And OG Nux has a pretty hefty lead on the properties so far. But, you know, I'm just playing the slow game, right? So, on this turn, I'm like, well, you know, go big or go home, right? So, I build a bomber. Spooky bombers in the house, right? Let's see. Not too much going on. Moving a couple units around. Doing lots of shimmying, right? So he did take a couple shots at this guy down here. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but whatever. It's basically done its job at this point. I did move this anti-air back to avoid getting hit by the tank. The tank has now moved in closer. So that is a thing. Alright, so this turn, didn't really move anything here, moved a couple things around here, built my own medium tank to go sit up here, and that is about it. So he shimmies his units down a little bit here, just mostly keeping out of range. So, I mean, when you're playing against Eagle, one of the very most important things is you really don't want to let him sit and accumulate units and everything, right? Because it just doesn't end up being a very good thing at the end. So cool thing to note here is he actually builds a stealth fighter. So he built that last turn. And I did notice, right? So, you know, I felt like I should just go down here and take a small engagement against this infantry. Which, you know, pretty good. Pretty good. So, at this point, his stealth is actually hidden now, right? So I have no idea where it is. I just know that it's somewhere. But where is the question? But, since I know that, I ended up building a fighter in response. And now, pretty much this airport up here is just going to be pumping out battlecopter after battlecopter. Right? Because, I mean, for Eagle at least, you know, battlecopters are probably his strongest unit. Well, I mean, fighters and bombers are his strongest unit, but for the cost, battlecopters are super good. Alright, so we're all the way at day 16, and we can see that the line is getting very big. And the stealth fighter is still there. A couple little small engagements were going on down here. Now, mostly, what I'm doing is I'm just sending one unit in at a time, pretty much, just to build some charge. Yeah. So more battlecopters being built, a couple more artillery being built. And yeah, he ends up building a battleship on last turn, actually, which is... I can't really say that it's good or bad necessarily. I don't really think it's too good on this map, but I think what his plan was he was going to send it down here and try to break this line up a bit, right? Alright, so my 2 HP little infantry down here is just going to be doing nothing really, just kind of hanging out. And yeah, just a lot of shimmying of units pretty much. Actually, I'm just going to skip this turn. Not really too much going on here. Or here. But Neo-tanks were built, so, you know, that's fun. And he is moving a lot of infantry up north, right? So, starting to get a little bit worried up here. Because especially if he gets these anti-air units up here, and this fighter up here, well then, you know, I can't build any more battlecopters, right? And I like my battlecopters, so I need them. So I shimmy some of my units down into a line, send 1 infantry forward to attack like once, right? So not really too much there. He does move up and starts capping this property. At this point, I'm kind of thinking to myself, do I want to lose a property? It's probably not really the best thing to do, right? So I shimmy some of my units up here, attack it with a tank, block it off with an artillery, put a second artillery up here, so if he attacks from the forest, you know, I can do some damage. Got more battlecopters in position. They're all out of range of this fighter, which is sitting right here. And there's also this fighter here, right? But he's not really in range to do anything, and neither is this stealth fighter. Yeah, so the interesting thing about a stealth fighter too is you need to have a APC to back it up, keep it fueled, especially if you're just going to have it hidden for a long time, right? So he was very smart with building this. It's also interesting too because normally you don't really want to have it sitting on your APC, because if you have an APC, your opponent can kind of figure that there is a stealth fighter. Yeah. Right? So, not necessarily the best thing. So he moves his unit back, or did he move it back? Oh, I have to find out now. No, he combined these 2 units. So he combined 2 5 HP infantry to make a full HP infantry here, I think. Actually find out. Yeah, so that's what happened. So he forgot to cap though beforehand. So make sure you do your caps before you join units. Super important to do so. So we're just gonna skip that. So yeah, we got a huge line right here, right? Tons of units, lots of firepower. But I also have a huge line with lots of units, lots of firepower. So I'm gonna skip ahead here. Not really too much going on here. So a lot of this match has just been kind of shimmying units around, getting into position, trying not to expose anything too significant. But I do notice that, you know, we're sitting at like day 22 right now, and I'm getting pretty close. Getting pretty close to lightning strike. I'm only like 4 bars down, so that's like 9, 18, 27. Probably. I can't see because my face is in the way. It's getting close though. Probably a little over 30,000 damage. Right? So on this turn, he moves his units down a little bit, doesn't really do too much. Moves his battleship way over here. So this battleship has gone from all the way over here, all the way over here. So now it's in position to start attacking some units, but I mean, not really anything too much. And we're sitting at 50 units here, folks. 50 units. So I decided to build a stealth fighter of my own, because I'm like, hey, I'm Eagle, I need more air units. Let's get a stealth fighter in here and do something freaky with it. Alright, so he has left this front. He's gone full down here. Huge death ball. So this may look really scary, but not super scary, right? It would be scary if you weren't Eagle, because it's like, how the heck am I gonna do that? And especially Von Bull, right? So if you were attacked as Death Ball as anybody else, it just wouldn't work, right? So with the Stealth Fighter that I built, I ended up sending it north, because I'm gonna try to sneak around back and do some crazy stuff with it. And also this turn, I went in with these 2 infantry, because I want him to kill them. That's essentially what I want, so that I can buy more vehicle units, right? I did build an APC down here too, to just start refueling some of my air units. But yeah, not really anything too significant. But this turn, I move my units right here, so I'm getting ready. And I got the Stealth Fighter up here in the corner now. So we're gonna see what happens on this turn. He moves his units down a little bit, just refortifying that wall. Oh, went too far. Okay, so this turn, my Stealth Fighter moves down behind his lines, and I move my guys into position to execute the kill, so to speak. Alright, so let's see what happens on this last turn here. He moves his Stealth Fighter up, and he actually discovers my Stealth Fighter here, which is pretty good. But the funny thing is he noticed it after he moved his units. So if he had, noticed it a little bit sooner, he might have been able to attack with the fighter and maybe even his Stealth Fighter, right? But fortunately for old Mr. Cannon here, he did not notice. So, thank the good Lord up there for that one. Alright, so this is actually kind of smart. So he's anticipating the lightning strike, so he actually moves a couple units back, a couple big units, because he wants them to live, right? But at this point, I'm like, I am so close to lightning strike, and I am just really wanting to go in there. So yeah, let's see. Alright, so with the Stealth Fighter, take out a Battlecopter, move this fighter down here, and that secures the lightning strike. So at this point, I'm just like, alright, time to do it. So I'll move some of my units in. Oh, and this is just great stuff. So yeah, just taking lots of shots at these infantry, because I need to weaken them to get them out of the way. Now, my main target here is this, right? This is what I really want to get rid of, because that is the only real threat. I don't know that the Stealth Fighter is here either, so I'm thinking that I'm pretty safe over here. And yeah, so begin doing a couple of the attacks. Alrighty, skip slightly ahead here. Alright, so this is why Eagle is super good on this map. So this is a small map too, right? So with big potential for stally stuff to happen. So yeah, so I accumulated all those units. I went in for my first attack. Doesn't really do too much damage, right? I did pop a couple shots at some infantry and stuff, but it was mostly just to get in there. So now that I am, pop the lightning strike, and now I go in for the coup de grace. And I even take shots at these fighters down here with 2 anti-air that I had stored up, which is fantastic. Right, utilizing my indirects to kind of clear out the front line a little bit. I noticed that Stealth Fighter there, so I take a shot at it with my Stealth Fighter because I don't really have anything else that can, currently hit it. So yeah, do that. Take a shot at that anti-air. Take it out with the battlecopter. Take out the second anti-air. Yeah, just tons and tons of damage going on here. So what probably could have actually happened... no, never mind. That was pretty good. I was thinking I could have actually attacked that guy with this bomber and completely taken another shot at this guy. But we're going to see what else happens. I'm pretty sure I looked at this for a while and I was like, yeah, I think this is probably the way I should attack. Oh yeah, that's what I did. Okay. That makes sense. Oof. It's just so unfortunate. Alright. So, basically taking out about half of his army and half of his value. So, ended up working out pretty good. Alright. So he does try to counter a little bit, ends up using Ex Machina right there. It has stunned 2 bombers, 2 fighters, and a battlecopter. Now, unfortunately, I just don't think that that's stunned enough to really work out too well. And he does move forward, taking a few shots. So he does do quite a bit of damage, right? So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily nothing. Yeah. Ends up taking out those 2 anti-air units that were down there too, which is kind of unfortunate. But he ended up blocking his airport with the Neo-Tank too to do that, so it wasn't too bad. But that's really all that he could do, right? So I managed to do like, 200 and something thousand damage to him. And he counterattacked with about 100,000. So he only took out like 5 units. So he did take out some big units, but it just unfortunately was not enough. So yeah, just went in for the kill with a lot of the other units that I had. Ended up starting a cap on the HQ. And just moved the rest of my units into position. Actually joined capped on the HQ there if you didn't see that. Mostly just because I'm moving pretty fast. And I build a fighter and just another little tank down here. So, yeah, he's sitting at 18 units now. I'm sitting at 46. All my units are up here. There's really not much that he can do. So he ends up just resigning. So, yeah. All in all, worked out quite well for me. So, yeah, you can see that, especially on this map as Eagle, like, holy moly, the amount of damage that you can do is insane. So even if it's a tier 1 match, I mean, if you have the choice of being Eagle on this map, it's a very, like, quite possibly choose Eagle, right? I mean, depends on your playstyle a lot of the time too. Me, I tend to be like, I stall things out probably way longer than I should most of the time. Excuse me. So yeah, I figured that Eco would be fantastic. And fortunately, it worked out well for me this time. There's not really too many COs that would have been able to counter an attack like that. So, yeah, it worked out quite well. So I want to thank OG Nux for the match. It was a good match, fantastic. Yeah, so best chance you got if you're fighting Eagle, you got to make sure to attack him and don't let him build up units like this because it's just not really going to work. And if you are playing as Von Bolt against Eagle or anybody against Eagle and they do this, well, especially Von Bolt because it's got Ex Machina, right? You maybe want to try to attack first and then maybe pop like Ex Machina at the end of the turn and stun like a bunch of units after you do your attack. Could be an idea. But yeah, this is the way that this match went out, so it was okay. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. This has been Semi-Original Guy, aka Mr. Cannon, and I will catch you on the next one. So take care, later folks.